A very good morning, and thanks for joining us on yet another edition of Political Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Spectrum Television. I am Raymond Ita, and taking you through the course of the day's biggest political news stories and events, top of which has to be the two-day working visits to Rivers State of the APC standard bearer and now President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where waters were stirred after he responded, quite sternly some would say, to appeal by Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike for refund of money used to construct a 12th flyover in Rivers State. We'll delve into that matter keenly as we try to mirror the policies of the incoming administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who clearly told the Rivers State Governor that he owes him nothing as far as refunds of mating come his administration. We'll mirror all of that as we progress, plus the fact that the APC has said they haven't zoned the position of the leadership positions in the National Assembly just yet, without, of course, getting input from the President-elect. And that's where we start off our roundup of the day's party would liaise with the President-elect, Bola Tinubu, about the leadership positions in the 10th National Assembly. Well, Abdullahi stated this yesterday in Abuja while speaking with newsmen at the end of a 4-hour closed-door meeting of the party's National Working Committee in Abuja. Adamu added that the party would not interfere in any interest canvassed in choosing the persons to lead the two chambers of the Assembly, whether it's on zoning or an individual interest. Well, he said the party had to, however, find a way of persuasively reaching some level of consensus. While also speaking, the party's national publicity secretary added that genuine issues raised by some of the party's members were being looked into by the National Working Committee. Well, on issues of zoning, the leadership position of the incoming 10th National Assembly, Moker said the party was not in a hurry to arrive at such decision. Well, staying with the 10th National Assembly, the minority caucuses in the 10th House of Representatives have formally affirmed their resolve to contest for the position of the June 2023. But the opposition's party's position was contained in a communique issued at the end of an enlarged meeting of the minority caucus with the mantra Greater Majority 10th National Assembly, which was held in Abuja. Now, the communique reads in part, the members resolve as follows to contest the office of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives of the National Assembly, that we have resolved to set up an 11-man committee to scout for a credible as well as acceptable candidate that would vie for those offices, and then actively seek the unification of Nigerians along ethno-religious lines. The greater majority, with more than 180 elected members representing over 50% of the elected members, will remain one indivisible coalition during the 10th National Assembly. With this, Honorable Nicholas Mutu, Honorable Wole Oke, Honorable Benny La, as well as Honorable Kingsley Chinda. Others are Honorable Abdulmamin Jibrin, Honorable Victor Nwokolo, Gaza Gwefi, Honorable Joe Ali Isa, Onyeme Eden, Idris Salman, John Agbodike Pascal, as well as Chinwe Inabuife. And meanwhile, the majority leader of the House of Representatives, Alassane Ado Dogowa, yesterday declared to become the Speaker of the 10th Assembly. But during, like the outgoing occupant, Femi Gbajabiamila, to be entrusted with the task of overseeing proceedings of the lower legislative chamber. Now, he pledged cohesion and harmonious working relationships among the three arms of government if elected into office. Odogowa promised to lawmaker also vowed to lead a house that would promote good governance, transparency, and accountability in legislative processes, besides ensuring that every Nigerian, irrespective of social class, creed, or background, has a voice and is well represented. Well, he also went further to call on the leadership of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC to cede the speakership to Kano based over the affairs of the Green Chamber, arguing that having served in various capacities locally and internationally, including being the chief whip and majority leader, spoke volume of his leadership qualities. Let's turn our sight elsewhere now. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, as well as his running mate, Dati Baba Ahmed, have been purportedly pardoned for attending a National Executive Council meeting organized by the Julius Abure-led faction of the Labour Party held last month in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Now, the pardon was announced yesterday in Bauchi during the National Executive Council meeting held by Bashiru Lamidi Apapa's led faction of the Labour Party held at the Sulgad Hotel in Bauchi. Now, according to a communique issued at the end of the NEC meeting, the factional leadership of the Labour Party stated that one of the major resolutions of the NEC was pardoning and forgiving its 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and the vice presidential candidate, Yusuf Datti, for attending what it described as an illegal NEC meeting held on April 18 in Asaba, Delta State, where the 19-point communique was jointly signed by the acting national chairman of the party, Alhaji Bashiru Lamidi Apapa, as well as the acting national secretary, Saleh Lawan, but was read by Arambambi Abayomi, the national publicity secretary. Other members pardoned by the NEC includes Mr. Alex Oti, governor-elect of Abia State, all the senators and state assembly members elected on the platform of the Labour Party for attending the NEC meeting or participated in the meeting, acted ignorantly and was a contempt of the FCT High Court's order restraining Abure from parading himself as chairman of the party. The communique further contained that NEC in its session believes in the rule of law and will continue to stand with peace to any unlawful act to cause a change of democratic administration violently, as they claimed is anticipated by Julius Abure and his cohorts. Let's go to Edo State now, where Governor Godwin Obaseki has sacked over 200 aides, including commissioners. A statement by the Special Advisor, Media Projects to the Governor, Crusoe Sage, said the termination of the appointment, which took immediate effect, affected all special assistants and senior special assistants. Well, the state cabinet was dissolved during the weekly Executive Council meeting yesterday. The governor, however, expressed appreciation to members. Godwin Obaseki has charged members-elect of the Edo State House of Assembly not to betray the trust reposed in them by their constituents, but to deliver quality and robust representation to the people. Obaseki gave the charge when he received the outgoing 7th Edo State House of Assembly members and the incoming 8 Edo State House of Assembly members who were on a courtesy visit at the government house in Benin City. He congratulated the members-elect for winning the assembly elections and receiving to the people. Well, the governor also urged them to be aware of the promise they made to citizens of Edo, as well as members of their constituencies, to give them premium representation, commending the 7th Assembly for its impressive performance in the sectors of the state. Lastly, on our updates, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in the February 25 election, Prince Adewale Adebayo, has said Nigeria will disintegrate if the president-elect and his vice are both useless people. The politician made the statement, said having a Muslim presidency is not a problem, except if the Jew are useless. Now, recall that the opposition, the party went on with the ticket, and the candidate said he had conceded defeat and advised about the conduct of the 2023 polls, but most. Well, interesting as Adewale Adebayo's own comments suggest, it would, as well as en route to Obiakpo local government area, candidates are backing in the presidential polls. Well, Waters West instructs federal government projects in Rivers.
I invited flyover. I invited Andalaba. You had about 3 more days from projects. To the glory of God, you are coming and not be happy. Why should it be Rivers that this is the turn of Rivers State to see development. I thank God today you have honored our invitation with the 11th flyover, the same day of the two flyovers.
As always, you can connect with us on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 TV.ng. Well, after the election comes Bola Ahmed Tinubu, president-elect, has already hit the ground running for the tax ahead. Well, he's already started having tested the waters in an official state visit to the free presidential election. Well, we all know the standoff between presidential candidates of their party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, Abia Ifeanyi of Enugu, as well as Samuel Atom of Ben, with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And one might say visits to River State for 2 days, the second of which is today. Well, that's not the headline around yesterday's used by the River State government to claims. But before we come to hear from the president-elect, let's listen again to Governor Nyesom Wike.
Inverted flyover. The campaign was almost over. You had to come and commission your own projects. I know that some people may not be happy he does his own thing. God believes, and you agreed that you are coming for you. The two flyovers have been completed.
The commissioning of projects in the Rumukota and to amend its procurement laws to be able. BK said the projects in question undertaken by the state belong to the federal government because they were federal roads, and informed the decision of Governor Nyesom Wike because the president-elect gave to OU nothing. It should the River State government or quarters have mooted to have happened after commissioning the two flyovers yesterday, and would deduce what the relator gave yesterday and perhaps give us better clarity and understanding of what to.
It is no, because I went through, supported by many of you, and I say thank you for your structural support. As not in His Excellency to South. He did a man of great integrity. He did not choose. You promoted unity. You promoted fairness. There was so much gossip. The construction of this flyover project today, we cannot be overstated the need for Nigeria. I made during the campaign. Leave Sanwo-Olu to give you back your banter. Your president. We know, we know, I see what you know, we know. For me, I see all the preparation, the declaration of a public holiday, the banners. I am a very happy man. We have some more remarks to make. Eventually. Seyi Makinde, the governor of followership and partnership with Nyesom Wike.
Well, President-elect and standard-bearer of the APC at the February 25 election, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, at the commission Wike. Well, top of the agenda as far as yesterday's commissioning is concerned was a formal request by Wike that the incoming administration should make efforts to refund the monies used by the Rivers State government. I think sometime last year, during one of the commissioning of many of such flyovers that have been, constructed by the Wike administration. Governor Wike seemed or appeared to have stirred the water to not just the River State government, but the Niger Delta State by the President Buhari administration as part of monies owed with respect to the 13% derivation accrued to the Niger Delta oil-producing state, and it's giving you a pat on the back, we expect same in return by urging the federal government to refund the monies that have been used to execute this project by the River State government. Well, we would have wondered to President Muhammadu Buhari, who is still in office and pretty much is aware of the construction of this project, especially if the truth that these were actually federal government's projects to construct, then it should have administration and virtually some decision that should have been taken by this government has been pushed to the decks of the incoming one. Must have explained the rationale behind Wike's decision to appeal to Tinubu instead of I owe you nothing. That's with respect to the 12th flyover, by the way. But it went further to say that should Wike insist on having these monies remarks, a lot of persons have expressed dissatisfaction with the way and manner he responded to that question. And maybe all of this sums up the mood in River State today. Just concluded governorship elections where Mr. Fubara of the PDP emerged as governor-elect on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. But in the presidential election, it was a different outing altogether because the AP with the decision of Governor Wike to openly declare support for the ambition of Bola Tinubu rather than Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, because it's in terms of zoning principal positions in the party is concerned. He and the G5 group had demanded the resignation of Senator Iyorchia Ayu, who, by the way, is today suspended from his G5 group, as I said earlier on, with Wike and Makinde, whom we saw also from the footage, deciding to support the aspiration of Tinubu to be Governor Wike and President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Where is this all leading to now that the elections are over? So there are two policy shifts in the administration of incoming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with respect to the appeal made by Governor Wike yesterday. Run year in, year out, where provisions are made for projects to be executed by the federal government, some within the purview of the state government, as that should have been handled by the federal government, either due to paucity of funds or just unnecessary delays. So Governor Wike is not the first to have told that part. If the Buhari administration is, say, leaving office and hasn't constructed or developed the said projects that Mr. Wike took up because constructing this project by the federal government. So where have all the monies gone to? If Mr. Tinubu is actually saying you're going to have to state government sourced for these funds and finished up those projects in real time. Well, ordinarily, you would have expected that the federal government should refund the 100 million naira back to the River State government. Of course, it's all prone to state and the standard that it requires of the money approved for that project. So does it have to require lobbying to get back money on, especially when Mr. Tinubu is saying you have to lobby? And I'm sure that message is not just for Wike or the River State government, but by extension, affecting your respective states and for the benefit of your people. You're just going to have to do them whether the federal government intervenes or not. Or some would say, let's not chide Governor Wike for coming out to make this to the people and say it's because the federal government has not intervened, then we're not going to do anything about it. One road readily comes to mind. The Calabar-Itu Highway is a project that have chosen not to embark on the construction, full-time construction of this project, except for intermediate maintenance over the years. But as far as the construction is concerned, that project, even though it has taken a good number of years, and the residents and road users around that area have complained that the poor state of the road has actually made it pretty discomforting. So Mr. Wike is only taking the different positions that some would say other state governors can take a cue or take lessons from by deciding to work on the project. Said you're going to have to lobby for it. So on what parameters would the River State government, or any other state government for that matter, have to look here is what matters. And some would say we need to open our eyes widely on this, especially in a time where the outgoing administration is shifting basically to have the wherewithal to take a decision on when to formally scrap off subsidy. They've said the exact date would be determined by the Tinubu, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, did confirm that in his handover note, he would, of course, notify the incoming administration to, as a matter of priority, see to the adjustment of the national minimum wage from its current status at 30,000 naira office, and several other policies that we had expected the Buhari government to tackle heads-on have all been shifted to the incoming administration, including the 2023 national census that should have kick-started yesterday. That has been postponed. On, especially matters of national importance. Well, it's just given the next line or the next batch of governors from May 29 a clue. State government. So these are interesting things we continue monitoring. But away from the policy sheet, let's talk about the relationship now between Wike and Tinubu and where it is likely heading going forward. And we know that post-election concerns are very much of post-election concerns. Well, the lead up to the 2023 presidential polls were characterized by certain intrigues, top of which too has to be the and the Labour Party candidates respectively. Well, it's the decision to support Tinubu that has paid off for Governors Wike and Makinde. But Governor Wike, being the leader of this group, is the name that will spring up in Rivers State as distance itself from the two-day working visit of Bola Tinubu to Rivers State. So it's pretty dramatic that in the presidential its foot, especially Governor Wike, in ensuring that Fubara of the PDP emerged victorious, so that they is on March 18. So going forward, everyone's asking, what does Governor Nyesom Wike intend to do? Are we likely to see elect of Rivers State all defect from the PDP to the APC? Well, it's looking like that's the body language of Governor Nyesom Wike at the moment. In the lead up to the governorship elections, where Governor Wike was heard making threats to electoral officials of INEC, Wike has denied the allegations of the comments that were purportedly leaked to him, as far as the leaked audio for PDP extraction at the national and the state level will all likely defect to the APC. It's left to be seen if he will make good on that threat. But it begs the question, Governor Wike defects Wike in that election. Toya Cole, of course, issued an open letter to members of the APC sometime last week, asking them to keep the faith with Bola Tinubu to Rivers State yesterday. And that's because they said in a statement by Darlington Nwauju, who is the spokesperson of the APC in Rivers State, they described the visits as a pride of Rivers State of playing less divisive politics and also exercise restraint in planting seeds of discord amongst the opposition political parties with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What other reasons would we allude, to the bromance that has been witnessed between these two? And going forward, what kind of cabinet wants? But that was under the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan. So would Wike want to accept a ministerial position again, this time under the Tinubu going forward? Because as I said earlier on, the policy shift here in the Tinubu administration seems very likely general policy of the APC as a party, because Tinubu is coming in with something different he describes as a renewed hope project for Nigerians going forward, and it's been coming one. Interesting times ahead indeed. But also it looks like the matter of the 10th National Assembly will not go away anytime soon, as the 8th elect makes an input on this. Going forward, what kind of 10th National Assembly are we looking forward to? We're brushing this as well. When we come back from this break, stay with us. Political Spectrum will return.
Have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be admitted.
But also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries?
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my Lord.
Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services and so much more advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect.
But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your times DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth, not a day. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai and Yekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4.
Hey, thanks for staying on, and you're still watching Political Spectrum live on Spectrum Television. A quick reminder of our major story this morning. President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, State Governor Nyesom Wike, well, he said as far as refunds of money used by state government to execute federal government accrued projects in their respective domains is concerned, that the project he personally commissioned was a federal government project and so solicited for a refund. Well, Tinubu claims he owes nothing first, and it begs to question what kind of a policy shift are we expecting in the Tinubu administration. Well, there have been reactions across board to yesterday's inauguration reported visit, which eventually took place, by the way, and said it was a matter between Wike and Tinubu and not the APC in Rivers State. Well, the camp of the pin Nyesom Wike for contributing to his victory at the presidential election. Of course, Tinubu described the fact that there were lots of gossips making the rounds for Wike standing his ground on ensuring that the South produced the presidency this year, and said potential candidate of the PDP, Daniel Bwala, stressed that Wike stole and diverted votes meant for the Labour Party presidential candidate to Peter Obi. Tinubu congratulated Wike for contributing to his election, but he used the word selection on this tweet. It says, meanwhile, the votes Wike credited to him were allegedly stolen from Peter Obi's Labour, as shown on IREF, can assume brazenly and openly accusing Governor Wike of, subverting the votes of the people of Rivers State, not for the PDP, instead for the Labour Party, nation of the voters' wishes. During the coalition exercise at the National Coalition Center in Abuja, where the PDP claimed that not only did the Labour Party in Lagos, the PDP said that the Labour Party won with as many as 900,000 plus votes. Now, here is the PDP again saying that the votes in Rivers State were actually, more, that would likely characterize the proceedings at the Presidential Elections Petition Tribunal. I'm pretty sure before the PDP media would come out to make such a remark, begs the question whether the jury in charge of this matter would want to explore all evidences available. We'll leave that to the courts to decide, by the way, but this is strong evidence is coming from the PDP. The APC is an interesting matter. Would follow up. But just before we wrap up, let's turn our sights now to the second matter of the day, and that's revolving around the 10th National Assembly. Well, the last few weeks and days after the inauguration sometime in June. Well, we do expect that the formal induction of the members-elect into the 10th National Assembly will take place sometime this month, while the formal inauguration would, of course, come up in June. That's next month, by the way. And the APC took place yesterday. A statement was issued to this effect by the APC National Chairman Abdullahi Adamu, who noted that the National Working Committee could not take a position on the zoning arrangement without the input of President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was away in Port Harcourt, of course, to inaugurate, projected to lay to rest the speculations about the zoning of the principal positions in the National Assembly and the areas, of course, that were up for interest. It was a meeting that lasted for about 4 hours, with no fewer than 18 of equitable to award the Senate presidency to their zones. It's interesting to note that the northern counterparts have also insisted that only the parameters of competence and experience matters in this race. So, persons of northern extraction leading the Senate and the National Assembly in general. So throwing their hearts into the ring again is a very big matter up for discussion. So the APC is simply saying we cannot take a position on this matter. Just the South-South, apparently the pressure groups and those supporting the emergence of Senator Godswill Akpabio, the former Kwabem State Governor, as Senate President, all of that has been laid to rest now. What we do know, as far as the tentative and authentic position of the APC is concerned, of the 10th National Assembly. So that gives room to all interested parties and candidates to continue their lobbying in the lead up to the inauguration of the Parliament, and also the announcement and voting for who the principal officers will likely be. Well, other twists and turns as far as the lead up to the 10th National Assembly is concerned, the minority caucuses, they should be allowed to have an open contest in determining who gets to win. So yes, the fix, even those from the northern extraction claiming that, look, we should look at competence as the parameters for judging who should emerge as the principal officers of the National Assembly is concerned. There's also an issue here of chambers should not zone the position based on religious or other ethnic sentiments, or the arguments that have been put forward that equity and fairness is a of the National Assembly, making up over 300, should be allowed to vote for who they want to be their principal officers. And this is perhaps a stunning response to the claims by those of northern extraction that zoning doesn't really matter, but that competence should be favored. And it leads us back to the argument by the President-elect Bola Tinubu, who also of national unity. And when the APC is saying they cannot make a decision without the input of Bola Tinubu himself, what does it mean? He would likely go for someone he favors as opposed to just respecting the action. If we do not zone the position of the Senate presidency and allow just about anyone to throw their hearts into the ring, the possibility of a northern senator emerging as Senate president, and possibly all from one particular religion, doesn't this pose a danger to the future of the country and the respect for the federal character as enshrined in the Constitution? It's pretty hot matter. The leadership of the APC will have to look on interestingly as we progress. But just to remind you about the big names that have indicated interest, to gone for this position and their respective zones, and said it would be a very good choice if he actually emerges from the southeast. There's Governor Devamai of Ebonyi State, former governor of Abia State. Now, and these are two men, by the way, who have had some kind of longevity as far as parliamentary activities in the country is concerned. They've both had stints in the House of Reps as well as the Senate's his character and competence is looked into. So what choices lies ahead of us as we, of course, look ahead to the inauguration of the National Assembly? The neutrals have said it doesn't really matter too, but what matters is ensuring that we do not have a rubber-stamped National Assembly that does the bidding of the executive arm of government without recourse to the people. So if the president that is concerned, well, no one is asking for an unnecessary face-off between the presidency and the National Assembly. But when you have a legislature that does the bidding of the government at any turn, without, of course, taking into considerations the yearnings of the people, APC have put it that they are in no rush to make a decision on where to zone the Senate presidency or the leadership positions in the National Assembly too. And we'll keep up between May 13 and May 17, while, of course, the inauguration is to happen. This administration to the next, side by side with the post-election litigations that are ongoing, get their prayers granted and answered in court. Interesting times ahead. We'll keep on screens tomorrow. Keep a date with us if you can.